In this video, we're going to have a look at the upside and downside of Napoli's wide combination and how Sarri got the best out of the new signing, Kamada. With that, let's get into it. Starting in the 8th minute, Lazio mostly played these short goal kicks from Romagnoli into the goalkeeper. This was in their 4-2 shape with Luis Alberto and Cataldi as the CDMs, and Kamada had license to float between the lines, but typically he's floating towards this right hand side. And this was against Napoli in a 4-2-4/3-1-2-4, where in behind these forwards, Anguissa and Lobotka are also marking this space, preventing Cataldi and Alberto from being able to get on the ball. And then further behind them, a defender will step out as one of the Lazio players looks to try and drop into that space behind Anguissa and Lobotka. But most important for me was Kamada pushing out towards this left-hand side. He was difficult to pick up because of his position, and he had an excellent first touch pass in him, so they would be able to ping the ball out once Napoli pushed higher up the pitch, because he'd find more space. They'd play the ball through to him and he would one touch lay after someone, and they'd be able to create a transition, which is what we get to see here with Napoli, as I said, pushing up, tracking players, of course leaving space in behind them, which we eventually see Kamada look to try and utilize, which he does on this occasion by playing that one touch pass into Felipe Anderson, who was awesome this game, and Kamada is able to break beyond the press. Unfortunately, he's tugged back, so Napoli are able to regain possession. From there, Napoli get to move into their preferred 2-3 shape, where at this point Anguissa is the CDM, but typically him and Zielinski are playing as number 8s with Lobotka as the CDM instead, although on occasion Anguissa can drop into a fullback role, allowing the fullback to push really high up on their side. Against this, Lazio played a 4-5-1, where Immobile was supported by one of the two wide centre midfielders in Luis Alberto and Kamada, where as the ball came towards their side, they would push out. So on this occasion, Luis Alberto would be the one expected to push out, and then Kamada would drop in to become the other CDM. And because of Napoli playing with a 3 in those wide spaces, so a number 8 and their fullback and wide midfielder, Cataldi would typically push towards that side to prevent Napoli easily being able to overload. And then with Luis Alberto having pushed up, they'd be able to pin Napoli towards the side. So we start to get to see that here. So Luis Alberto higher than the far side of the midfield, Immobile having come across, and Cataldi deeper to try and prevent that space that Napoli want to build up with in their 3s. Napoli rotate possession towards the left-hand side and drop into a 3-1 shape, with Lobotka dropping into a central centre-back position, allowing their fullbacks to push higher, trying to get around what is a relatively congested midfield. This is typically what we saw with Kamada being the one pushing out rather than Luis Alberto. That was mostly just because Napoli really liked playing the ball down this left-hand side to utilise the combination play of Kvaratskhelia, Zielinski and Oliveira. We get to see what we mentioned before. We've got our wide midfielder dropping to track the fullback. We've got Kamada having pushed up to help Immobile, now dropping back and trying to make it difficult for Oliveira to be able to retreat easily. And then we've got Kvaratskhelia dropping to try and pull his fullback with him, as well as Zielinski in support too. As Napoli progressed up a wing, because of the positioning of their number 8 and their forward, they could play from the wide space, whether it was from Kvaratskhelia or from Oliveira. In the wide space, they could play it to either Zielinski or Osimhen at times, allowing them to utilize clever off the ball runs. On this occasion, the play breaks down, Lazio are able to get the ball and they retreat to the goalkeeper, and we get to see a nice example of Napoli counter-pressing. And then behind that, we've also got Di Lorenzo tracking his player, making it difficult for Provedel, who was excellent this game, both in his distribution and saving, to play the ball out here towards Zaccagni. And so Napoli are able to get back on the ball again, and this was somewhat the pattern of the game. And as you can expect with this lopsided possession, with Napoli having so much of it, Lazio were forced mostly into counter-attacking. This is what we see here from Napoli's 3-1 shape, as they try and utilise the fact that they have all their right-hand sided players, so the number 8 in Anguissa, as well as also Politano and Di Lorenzo higher up on that side. The play breaks down due to a nice interception here, and Lazio try and spring a counter-attack. Fortunately, the final pass is so heavily telegraphed that Napoli easily get back in possession, but as you can imagine, as the game goes on, Lazio are better able to evade Napoli's counter-press, especially with their quick 1-2s, and create really threatening opportunities. Okay, so next I wanted to have a look at this scenario in the 49th minute and just juxtapose the difference in intensity between the two teams' presses. So here we start with Lazio build up after a free kick call due to an offside, and Napoli engage them straight away. Of course, the fullbacks are allowed to have space against that 4-2-4 or 3-1-4-2 press, and as Kamada is about to receive possession here, but passes cut off by Kvaratskhelia position. They play centrally and Napoli collapse in on him, and so Cataldi is immediately dispossessed, but according to the referee it was unfairly, and so Lazio get a free kick. They're able to play it down the left hand side, looking to have Zaccagni and Immobile combine. Unfortunately the play breaks down. Napoli get into possession. Then I just wanted to show the difference in the intensity of the press. Given just how much time Napoli are allowed here, they're able to easily play it between the lines, eventually getting the ball out to Politano on the right hand side. I thought it'd also be useful to mention that when Napoli built up on one side, the far-sided wide midfielder could actually narrow into more of a second centre forward position, and then you could have the far-sided fullback. So on this occasion, Oliveira actually be towards the edge of the box, such that if the ball is swung in, he'll be able to potentially get a shot off or a header or something if the cross is too long. Anyway, this opportunity is defended, and Napoli take the opportunity with their throw-in to retreat all the way back to the goalkeeper to try and see if they can draw Lazio up the pitch. And now at this point, Anguissa is pushing towards CDM, whilst Lobotka is dropping to become a central centre-back. All the while, Lazio aren't really looking to press them. They did when they thought opportunistically, but otherwise they sort of just stepped off. And so we see that here with them not really engaging until Napoli then pass even deeper. But again, they're always 5 to 7 yards off the ball. I thought it'd be good to also point out Napoli choosing to manage the game at times. We've got that here with Lobotka putting studs on the ball, trying to entice Lazio with a little bit of bait. It also means that Napoli's attack will lack potency at this point. It's not to say that game management isn't good, but there's always the chance that this can steal away your own momentum too. Of course, you could say that's just hindsight. Anyway, another point being that in this 3-2 shape with Lobotka as one of the central centre-backs, you had your other centre midfielders become the 2 holding midfielders, and this was a shape that they used a lot more in the second half, with Zielinski and Anguissa looking to combine with the other forwards more centrally and the wide players pushing much higher up in the wide spaces. And because the fullbacks were also in those wide spaces, it allowed the wide midfielders to be able to narrow and combine more centrally. On this occasion, they rotate possession back towards the right hand side and eventually get frustrated and try and play a longer ball over the Lazio press into Osimhen, but as you would expect, 4v1, Osimhen loses that battle. Napoli are able to retain possession and look to play out towards the left hand side, and with the ball with Zielinski, he's trying to take advantage of the 2 wide players having pushed into attacking positions, but his pass is intercepted by Felipe Anderson, and as you'd expect, Lazio take this opportunity and break at pace and give Napoli no opportunity to recover, ultimately deciding the match. Given how infrequently Lazio had settled midfield possession, I'm going to keep this brief, having a look at the 70th minute where they essentially had a 3-3-4 shape. They've got a holding midfielder, 2 number 8s in Guendouzi and Alberto, and then one of your fullbacks is pushing up to try and support, and then the rest of your forwards are looking to narrow. So you see that here with both Zaccagni and Luis Alberto. The main threat of their attack seemed to be coming from their forwards looking to draw the attention of a defender, drop, and then alternatingly another one would run from between the lines into the space vacated. But again, they didn't do this particularly much. This occasion, the play breaks down as Immobile looks to try and combine here centrally, and Napoli at this point are relatively desperate, so they keep trying these longer balls into Osimhen, which unfortunately keep breaking down. Okay, so moving to the 87th minute, at this point there've been numerous changes by both teams. Generally the systems are quite similar, although now Napoli are playing with 2 centre forwards in both Osimhen and Simeone, and they've become a lot more disjointed as they're trying to push their midfielders higher up the pitch, and they're gambling they want to get at least a point, and so you get to see their team split quite severely into attacking and defensive units. So we get to see that here with your 2 centre backs and Lobotka sitting ahead of them, Mario Rui staying deeper to try and provide a cross from the right hand side, whereas you now have your 2 centre forwards and your 2 wide midfielders all overloading and narrowing towards this side with the hope of your centre-backs being able to beat Lazio's initial pressure. Fortunately for Lazio, they're able to defend this initially, and Napoli retain possession, eventually playing it out towards their left-hand side. Unfortunately, Mario Rui and Raspadori didn't really combine quite as effectively as the 2 they replaced, and Lazio were able to regain possession on numerous occasions, and then what with the tired legs now on the pitch and their ability to pop quick 1-2s passes or wall passes, they were able to beat Napoli's counter press, which was more effective earlier, and they were able to break at pace with devastating effect. And with that, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider sharing on social media, giving it a like, and maybe subscribing. With that, we're out.